Hey guys, how you doing? It's Vol here, obviously. We are going to talk about two games of Infinity that I played recently. So last Sunday I played my Morats, of course, up against my regular Pano opponent, and we played the Mission Rescue. And then today I had another game again with Morats, but I used the other list against another Pano player, though he was playing NCA instead of Vanilla, and it was also in Rescue. So I thought I'd just roll the both batrep into the same video and commentate on both of them back to back, because it's an interesting mission, one that I hadn't played before, and it gave me a chance to play both of my Morat lists. Again, if you want to see exactly what's in the lists, I recommend you checking out the other video I did about the most recent tournament that I was in, where I do go into detail about the lists themselves. So the very first game did involve me up against Cornac. Me using Cornac up against some Panos. So I'm just going to try and put my camera up in the corner, and then we'll get down to it and have a look. Okay, so game one up against a Vanilla Pano, and I won the roll to go to choose, and I took second turn. So this is the opening layout here. So we've got basically a side view of the terrain, and if you look carefully, you can see these four red silhouette markers. These are the markers I normally use for camo, but of course no camo in Morat, so they represent the four civilians that you have to synchronize as the mission. Now of course these are the ones are closer to my side of the table, and the blue ones, which we'll see later, are my opponent's objectives, which I have to go and synchronize with. Really interesting mission. It's important to remember that there's a saturation zone, so it's harder to ARO your opponent and also kill your opponent. Well, when I say harder to ARO, I mean I'm talking about TR bots and link teams, of course. The exclusion zone prevents you from sending specialists over to capture the civilians and rescue the civilians as easily. But most importantly, there is a difficult terrain zone as well. So when you move into the difficult terrain zone, your short skill move just stops at the edge, and then when you continue moving through it, you only move at the speed of your second short skill. So if your speed is 4.2, you're only moving at 2.2 through the entire thing, which is very, very slow. Unless, of course, you've got multi-terrain or jungle terrain or some sort of terrain ability, and luckily some of the Morats actually do have jungle terrain, but it's patchy. Some of them do, some of them don't. So if you look in the Harris that I play with Cornac and with Rack to Rack and the Suryat, I mean, like the Suryat's got it, the Rack to Rack I believe has it, and Cornac I don't think has it, so it's kind of a bit prickly for them. But hey, they're all 4-4, so once they move into the zone they are okay. It's a really interesting mission. My theory about the mission is that you want to be going second if you can, because it's easier to just make that last dash over there and collect a civilian or kill the opponent who's stolen one than it is to hold on to one at the end. So if you can feel confident in your defensive game, that's a better way to play it. I've got a Zerat, which is my reserve trooper, so he's up in the building here and ready to move out later on in the game. Also got Cornac behind the building here is prone. This is a sidelong view. Also using one of these slave drones to potentially revive them if they get damaged by a Rambo, effectively, my opponent moving through. Okay, left-hand side of deployment, you've got the Preta, the Gakis, the Osnat all sort of grouped up behind this white crate here, along with Dacharatsai. And I'm just running a single MSV Yaugat here with the sniper rifle next to my flash pulse drone, is what I'm trying to say there. And then on the extreme left hand side of the table I've got a Dr. Worm here, Medtech Obsidon with a Icodron as well, just hanging out. On my opponent's side he's put down a Tikkabilang. He's going first, so this is going to be quite useful to be aggressive with. You can see one of his rescue objectives here, and just underneath where I've situated the webcam you've got this guy just above the cam here at the Cracker Renegade, so I'll just replace the cam. We are there. Probably doesn't need to be quite so big, but just reduce that a little bit. Bottom right we've got an engineer, of course, and bottom left we've got a NIST sniper. And the sniper, if you look carefully, is actually well, you can't really see from this angle, but he's got a bit of a line of sight around this view here, and of course the auxiliary team beyond that. Then looking a bit further out, this is a bit more of an overview of his deployment zone. I think there was a sensor bot, we've got another auxiliary team, we've got a trauma doc down here, a NIS with HMG, and a TR bot on the extreme left hand side, and that's I think the one model he's got in group 2. So first turn, moving out with the impetuous Krakot. My style going second usually is not to leave out any arrows covering the whole table, so he's free to move out, and that's fine. He's okay to do whatever he wants. So what he wants to do is come around the side here and actually pick off my drone, but he's got to be careful about doing that because the Yowgat is actually taller than the drone, so if he comes too far around, he's going to run into both of them. Having said that, he's got a chest mine, so still going to do a fair bit of damage there. And what this picture does not show, if you look, if you go further in this direction off image, there's an OSNAT waiting there with a smoke grenade launcher, and the OSNAT, what it can do is just plant the smoke grenade down as an arrow on top of the drone, and if the Krakot continues his rampage, he's getting shot at by the Yowgat and can't really respond very easily. Although, having said that, if he hasn't used his chest mines yet, he can also shoot through the smoke with the chest mine if he gets attacked by the Yowgat. So here's what does happen. He moves around, does take out the drone, and the OSNAT does indeed fire the smoke grenade. So he's used one of his chest mines already, and the Yowgat at this point does survive. So that seems okay for now. Then, of course, our Tikkabilang moving out. This is a camo marker, but it represents a mine, obviously, because the Tikkabilang actually plants it right under this beautiful Overlord Technology sign. The Overlord Technologies banner here is a thing I picked up from Zen Terrain, a Polish company. Recommend you check them out. Very good terrain pieces. So, furthermore, coming back to where we were with the Krakot, he has another go at it and actually does manage to kill the Yowgat at this point. So, Yowgat is now down. But we still have everything else intact. All of my other models are fine, so I don't really mind losing 2 models because he spent his entire turn doing that, so I expect to take some casualties, and the Yowgat isn't even in a link, so I'm not really too terribly worried about running it. And also, he's not really taking any markers in this list. He's got no Swiss Guard or Hexas or anything like that, so I didn't really feel the loss of the Yowgat was too important in this particular game. Now, it's my turn, and the photo is particularly blurry, but we've got a AdmiralJCJF moving out and lobbing a smoke grenade down here. One thing that this does achieve is it blocks off the line of sight from his total reaction bot through to the middle of the table. The image doesn't show it very well, but if you can imagine this being a from the right sideways view of the table, and then towards the bottom corner where the red box is, he's actually repositioned a TR bot further off to the side on the right hand side of the screen here, and then towards the left hand side of the screen, that's where Kornak and the Harris are, and they're heading up this way. So this alleyway here, this firing lane has been blocked off by the AdmiralJCJF smoke. So Kornak and his crew, Captain Kornak and his trusty men, now move out. Really happy with the paint scheme that I came up with for these guys, even though I painted them just flat out during a week. I really enjoyed it. I just love these sculpts so much. So Kornak and his boys just moving up through closer to the difficult terrain area, the exclusion zone, and we'll see what they're up to soon. They've got a plan in mind. So they eventually get up to this point, and the Suryat here, who's the link leader, is able to just poke his head around past this this hollow board advertisement and fire off at my opponent, who has a NIS HMG preparing arrows up to the top left here, where this civilian is, just above this building. And the Suryat, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, does not eliminate the NIS, but the NIS does get knocked into cover, so I can now proceed past this area in general. So there's the picture of the NIS, and you can sort of see here, bottom left is the NIS position, and the top right is where the Suryat is, just behind that banner that we saw in the previous image. So now, having dealt with that, you can see the Suryat and friends just moving out around here. Suryat benefiting from that extra dice. Note that there is a saturation zone, so he starts at 4, goes to 5, comes back to 4. The top left here, there's a sensor bot just hanging out behind this blue crate. He's in suppression fire, but it's such long range, he opts to not use it, and of course gets shredded by the Suryat in my active turn there. Note the Krakot over here, who has rolled up metachemistry, plus movement and super jump. His Krakot, which he had in his turn, who is still alive by the way, has +3 fizz and regeneration. Now, this is what happens to his Krakot. I've finally got the Suryat into the middle of the table, so the Tikkabilang's up here. It does not have line of sight past the corner. The mine does not have line of sight past the corner yet. The Suryat moves here under the bridge and shoots at the Krakot in the back. The Krakot does have this poker chip here, which represents suppression fire, but he's facing the wrong way. So even with the saturation zone, the Suryat destroys it. And note that the Yuching model here actually represents my HVT. So now the Suryat is actually able to move back and not get hit by the mine. But I now, because I've cleared out all of his arrows with a machine gun, the Gakis and the Osnat and the Predator all move forward, and one of the Gakis is able to sacrifice itself into the mine and get rid of the mine so that the Suryat can move around. Also, the Osnat is now able to move into position and drop down some smoke. So you can see here the Gaki's moving out, the mine is revealed, that was the position of the mine. As you can also tell, the Suryat hasn't quite moved far around enough for the mine to have hit it, so the Gaki takes that one to the chest. And now the Osnat can move up. Only one dice for the grenade though. Normally it's two because of the link, but it's one because of the saturation zone. Shoots the grenade, and of course this is not Nimbus zone, so it's still at 17 to hit given the link. Actually, so 14 to hit given that I'd lost the Gaki, so it's a 4-man link. But successfully planting down a smoke grenade here with decent odds, 14 or less, pretty decent. So now the smoke grenade is positioned. And note, by the way, guys, I mean this is a turn where I've started with effectively 10 orders in Group 1 because I've lost a Yaugat, but I gain an order from Strategos level 1, and like 6 orders in Group 2. And because the Osnat and team are just so quick, all of this is really possible in this opening turn. And I've got to stress that going second is so much more valuable here because what your opponent usually does is just move guys aimlessly forward, maybe get a couple of kills, go into suppression fire, and then you can lob your smoke, move your HMGs in, and they're just so much better at counterattacking than they are compared to just moving out in first turn. So safely the smoke is down, and just a quick technique, guys. Note that I've left a gap between the Tikkabelang and the smoke so that the Tikkabelang cannot dodge, but there's still enough room to put a model base to base with the Tikkabelang without leaving the smoke. And note he's put another mine down on this side, so I can't really take this course around the building, especially since there's another nest around there, but around this side I'm fine. So typical technique here, Osnat moves in, the Tikkabelang on the first short skill is forced to change facing or reset, can't choose any other arrows because he can't see me. In the second short skill, the Gaki's just move into close combat with it, and even though he's in suppression fire, there's nothing he can do. So although if you guys are unfamiliar with that tactic, here's how it works. Spend the order on the link team, move them forward, move to within something, with a native something that basically can't see you. They have to declare an arrow, otherwise they can't arrow at all. Second short skill, move into close combat, they can't do anything, and they're tied up. One of the Gakis, I believe, did move in range of some kind of arrow and get shot, but actually of the mine, excuse me, which is around the other side of the building, but the other one makes it into close combat safely. So what this allows me to do, as you can see here, going to the next image, is that Cornac and the rest of the crew activate now that they've sort of worked in tandem with the second combat group and just move carefully through the smoke. We are able to move to a point where the Suryat can actually shoot further targets out there, but ultimately the plan is just to get to this photo here where we've got Cornac in close combat with the Tikkabelang and the Suryat, who, based on the same technique from last time, hasn't been hit back by the Tikkabelang. So when Cornac attacks, he's getting +2 burst, 1 for the Gaki, 1 for the Suryat. He's getting +1 physical because the Suryat's in the same link team as he is. So he's throwing 3 dice as close combat 22. So I had a swing at him, and just seeing how it went, I did a little bit of damage there, but not that much. And then I realized, because I only had like 1 order left in this turn, I decided to go with Berserk. And the thing about Berserk is that the Tikbelang's going to get a free hit on me if he passes the roll. Cornac has 1 wound plus NWI. I don't really want to lose Cornac because he's my lieutenant, and although I'm a Morat, so I ignore that generally, I still have some remotes in my list which would not have been immune to loss of lieutenant. But given that he only has 1 attack and he doesn't have a dual action close combat weapon, I decided on the final order to go Berserk, and that's where Cornac just absolutely crushes face. He's throwing 3 dice, he's critting on 12s or more, physical 14 or whatever it is, and he's got a double action close combat weapon. So not only did it actually remove the rest of the wounds from the Tikbelang, it just took it through 2 levels of subconscious as well. So effectively, over 2 combat rounds, 5 or 6 wounds inflicted altogether. So there you can see the end result. There's Cornac, just another image of him, and over here we've got Cornac without anything in front. So although I've kind of crippled him here, I've knocked the Nis into cover, I've killed the Krakot threatening me, I've wiped out his most valuable model. I do have some models which are exposed here. So what he does in his second turn is he moves in with his commando behind me, and this is a Akal commando, a Sikh, and he now moves around to poke off against the Preta. Unfortunately, though, the Predator, highlighted here with the green base, has dogged, so he does manage to luckily survive that volley. Now, he can't really move any further around, otherwise he takes a shot from the Raktarak and the Predator, and he doesn't really want that. Also, it gives the opportunity for the Osnat to change facing and actually potentially put a smoke grenade down here as well. So what ends up happening is that he goes around the other side, moves through with the Auxilia team, and effectively uses the flamethrower bot to try and kill me. Luckily though, and having some decent rolls, the Suryat and the Gaki and what's his face Kornak actually managed to pass their dodge saves, and Kornak pulls further back into cover, and the Suryat and the Gaki basically get out of the way. And here's a photo which shows their movement, and notice that Kinematica allows me to really reposition quite well here. I probably should have shot at it with the Suryat, to be honest, because the Suryat has a better chance of surviving, and even if I don't survive, killing it with the HMG prevents me potentially losing my lieutenant there. So another photo shows you just a bit further up in this long distance shot here. He's got the actual member of the Auxilia with the combi rifle, and moving further forward with the bot, but to no avail. My rolls were decent, and don't forget, guys, his chance of killing me with the combi rifle again are not that good because of the saturation zone. So he's at -1 burst. So we eventually get to this point where the Gaki is standing directly in front of him. And unfortunately, okay, so back over here, we've got the Akal, which tries to move out and unfortunately gets ganked by the chain rifle. But back to the situation at hand with the Auxilia. So trying to finish off this Gaki. But the Gaki survives. And over here we've got Kornak actually dodging the flamethrower, and Kinematica back behind the wall. So Kornak, super lucky. His physical stat is very good though. I think it's like 13, so his chances of surviving either the dodge or the armor save are pretty good. But yeah, I was lucky to have passed it so many times. So then the Gaki explodes, and unfortunately for him, that also clips the engineer as well, because there's a slight sliver of line of sight between the crate and the box crate and the Auxilia. So a lot of things going right for me here. Just a lot of really good rolls in general, allowing me to destroy the Aux bot and the engineer, who was in suppression fire, so things just going fine and dandy. So now, it ends up being my turn. He's put himself into suppression fire, but it ends up being my turn. And he's also repositioned a NIS sniper. So Kornak moves in with his Harris team, easily kills the Auxilia. But the problem now becomes this sniper here pictured in this photo. So at the bottom of the image, you can sort of see the NIS with the sniper rifle. At the top of the image, you can see Kornak. Note the lovely murals I've been plastering to my terrain there. Thanks to Garth for that. But what happens here is that in my active turn, I'm now shooting with Kornak. He's Ballistic Skill 14, goes from 3 burst to 4, back down to 3 from the saturation zone. And I attacked this sniper, I think, 3 times with Kornak and 2 or 3 times with the Suryat. So with a huge weight of dice against his one roll, you would have expected me to kill this guy. But what ended up happening is that when the NIS shoots, it's effectively needing like 12 to hit, right? Because Ballistic Skill 12, +3 for range, -3 for cover. So it's just got to roll something between like 7 and a 12 to hit me. It might have even been a 9, I can't remember what the range band was. Whereas I am Ballistic Skill 14, +3 for range, -3 for cover, -3 for mimetism, so I need 11s, but on 4 dice, and Kornak fails it like 3 times. The NIS rolls exactly what he needs to every single time, and the Suryat tries it as well, fails again, 4 dice versus 1, needing 10s to hit. You know, odds are overwhelmingly in favor of me, but I lose Kornak and I lose the Suryat against this one sniper. So I kind of had it coming. I had some pretty good dodge saves and good saves all round earlier, and now I've absolutely whiffed it. So I've basically thrown a very good position away. So in the end of the turn, just moving the Datrats into a better position over here. Also got the Krakot Renegade and moving up. But I just have to say, guys, that you cannot sync with the civilian for winning the scenario if you have the Impetuous rule, which my guys do. So I was counting on the Suryat and Raktarak being able to fulfill that. The Osnat, though, is able to do it, so the Osnat moving just behind this blue crate here. So now he finally stands up with his HMG. The blue crate in the distance actually is the crate that the the Osnat was hiding behind. So the nest shoots at me. I pass the armor save, but I'm religious. I'm a Morat, so failed the willpower check. So he keeps shooting at me, but eventually I managed to dodge my way into cover. So I did survive. Then it's just a matter of him pulling back with his TR bot and his other auxiliary team, and just trying to protect his civilians here, because this is his last turn. So really just getting a position. In my final turn, moving out with the Datrites, I try to get a couple of pistol hits, but that doesn't work, and I die. And then trying to lob smoke into here to try and work my way around with the Osnat, but unfortunately, because he has a NIST sniper and a NIST HMG, he kills everyone. So final turn here, just making a dash with it with the Zerat. The only way I can win is by bringing the Zerat within 8 inches zone of control of his HVT, and of course making sure that none of his guys are within 8 inches of my HVT, and that was the Akali Commando, but I've killed it. So the game ends with me winning, although I did try to basically... We took back the 5 orders and we tried to test whether I could have, won the scenario without doing that, and I couldn't. I just couldn't pass the rolls. So rather anticlimactic game. I felt like I played it correctly. I probably could have been a little bit more conservative with Cornac. I probably should have just berserked the Tikkabalang initially and then pulled back with him so I didn't get flamethrowed. So that's a mistake that I made. But yeah, I think that asking for Cornac to survive his second turn wasn't too much to ask, and I should have at least had, either a Suryat or Cornac there after all of that, and then I should have been able to kill the sniper and take the objective. So I was unlucky to not achieve that, but decent game, and I managed to win. So let's roll straight into game 2. You guys familiar with AdmiralJCJF on the forums? Because that's my buddy Jason, and I'm playing him for this game, and it's the same mission, Rescue, and he's won the role for Lieutenant this time, but he's opted to pick the side of the table he wants, so I took second turn, but we're running a different list now. So you've got the same Osnat link team down here, behind the cover, same Zerat Assault Hacker up here, HVT on this corner this time, but I'm actually running the Vanguards. So there's the... beautiful picture of my xenomorphs, which are from the Aliens vs Predator game, which I use as Gakis. Here's the Vanguard link team. So you've got Tritak Anyat here, you've got the missile launcher there, HMG, the hacker. I use the K1 combi. The K1 sniper rifle's not that good, so I use it as just a forward observer combi. Over here, we've got the Yalgat link team. So Lieutenant, Panzerfaust Harris, and sniper rifle with Dr. Worm and a whatchamacallit, an Echidron. So there's the reserve trooper Zerat there. On his side of the table, so looking from left to right, he's got a Diva with NSV, he's got a Doctor, just the usual culprits, we've got a boarding shotgun Locust, we've got his link team as usual, so that's the Pelbot attached to his Doctor. He's got 2 standard Fusiliers, he's got a Hacker and a forward observer and an HMG. There's a breaker rifle Locust over here and a Warcore on top of the pile of crates. There he is there, saying hi, and one of his civilian rescue objectives there. So this particular Locust next to the beautiful Eris Daya mural will be moving up first. One of the first thing he does here is he brings the Garuda on, and it's quite important to bring the Garuda on in the area between the deployment zone and the exclusion zone. So the deployment zone ends about here and the exclusion zone ends about here, so it's a nice sweet spot in between like some fire lanes, but he'd forgotten or just didn't know that the Echidron's a repeater. So with the Garuda being a remote, I can hack him with the Zerat Assault Hacker, which oblivions him straight away. I forgot at the time that I could have also hacked him with my Morat Hacker as well and just hit him with like a Carbonite or something like that. So the Garuda basically stopped in its tracks, sadly. So bad day to be a Garuda, unfortunately, because I basically passed the roll, he fails the BTS, and he's oblivioned. So there it is. Yeah, there's them with the token. So now command token spent to move out with the Diva sensor and the Locust over here. Note that the Locusts have multi-terrain, so they're easily able to move through the dangerous ground there. So he's got one locust moving in through this alleyway behind this blue box, and the other one coming behind this blue wall here, and not within range of the Zerat, although this model is not hackable, we should also point out. So going to suppression fire at the end of his turn with this locust here and the diva. This is basically the midway line of the table, and just staying out of line of sight of my multi-sniper Harris Link team. And he's got his HMG standing up there for some arrows. So on my turn, since he didn't really achieve anything worthwhile mentioning other than that, the Echidron moves out here and destroys the guy here with his double flamethrowers, although the Garuda, even though he doesn't have a pistol, fires his HMG and does take me out in return, so I've lost the Echidron to that. Decent trade though. Note that also I wanted to remove him because even though he's isolated, he can still arrow the guys just cutting across the table. So, although Tritak Anyat is not part of the Link team because the core link is on the OSNAT, she does activate anyway and throw a smoke grenade here just to provide some smoke cover for the Yaogats as they start to try and pick off some AROs. But realizing that I'd put it in the wrong place, she had to throw it again so I could move out with a sniper. You can see Mr. Admiral's face over here just having a look at the line of sight angles, and in the distance, although it's very blurry and out of focus, there's a walker there. So you would have expected the Yaogat to do this. He's burst 3 down to burst 2 from the saturation zone, Blister skill 12, whereas the flash pulse needs like a 4 or a 3 to hit. And unfortunately, although I shot him numerous times, he dodged like 3 times in a row. So I was quite pissed off about that the Yaogat couldn't even kill one Warcore, and I wasted 3 orders. But such is life. So the OSNAT and team move out now and just scuttle towards the point here where I've managed to put a smoke grenade there to stop the Locust from shooting me, but there's a Diva up at this point at the table with MSV2 and it's in suppression fire. So I realized, well, can I just cautious move across the gap? That might not have worked because I have to get all 5 of them across the gap. Then I realized, well, what if I only move some of them across the gap and then coordinate them? So I tried that, and then when he declared he was shooting at one of them, we realized that if one of the Gakis explodes, it takes out the other members, and I thought, based on rules that I'd read, that the explosion can't affect your own guys, but I'm wrong. I was wrong about that. What I had actually read is that it can't affect a civilian such as an HVT, so that was why I thought it wouldn't explode. Ironically, and this is the real irony of this game, that red marker you see in the middle of that photo is a civilian. It's one of the objectives. So my Gakis can't explode as a result of that arrow because it would hit the civilian, and the HSN3 rules just say that it just doesn't happen. So ultimately I did manage to get these guys past. He shoots at the OSNAT instead, realizing he's not going to blow up the Gaki. Unfortunately, both of us crit, so nothing happens. Now, there's the image of his Diva, and you can sort of see there's a bit of an angle, and you can see a silhouette of not only the civilian, but the aliens as well. So he's in suppression fire at long range. So I decided to use a coordinated order, breaking the link up, and the Gakis now move around the corner. And same trick as we saw before. First short skill, they move up. The Locust has to declare a reset or a change face, then they continue moving around the corner. But there is a Hexa sniper, so I don't really mind this. My game plan against a Hexa sniper, knowing that there's going to be one there because I've played against his list before, I prefer to have it revealed as soon as possible so that I can actually move more safely with my other troops. So he shoots the Gaki, it goes straight to death, doesn't go unconscious, can't blow up, and one of them remains in combat with the Locust, which is fine. So then, with my remaining orders, I put down some more smoke just to cover various angles. We've got the Link team shifted, so core Link on the Vanguards now. It goes to the HMG, who moves out of the smoke behind the corner here and fires at his HMG and the Link team up there. 4 dice versus 1, 14s versus 15. Do manage to pulp him, but only to unconscious, so he's going to be able to revive him with his Pelbot later, sadly. And lastly, because I've got a few orders left, the Dr. Worm, Pal friend over here, Obsidon, moves around and revives the Echidron. So that'll give me another order for later. And this is the position at the end of the turn. So I've moved back with the HMG here, and you've got the Yaogat, part of the Harris team here, and he's moved his boys closer to the wall, but so they stay within coherency range. And this is basically providing some arrows, although if he repairs the HMG, it's going to be kind of tough to resist that. Here's his HVT. I have to comment that when we started the game, it looked like he had no HVT play, so I just reminded him, "Hey, can you please put the HVT on the table?" And I felt like it was a bit of a giveaway because one of my classifieds was to actually flash pulse the HVT. So at least there is one now, so it's possible to complete the classified or secure HVT, of course. All right, next. So the Locust does manage to kill the Gaki in close combat. He's close combat 20 against my close combat 19, so not a very high likelihood of that happening, but better than 50%, and he achieves it, and of course shock prevents me from blowing up. And then of course moves out behind this, shoots at the Gaki in the open with his boarding shotgun. I survive the first hit, but not the second attempt, and it goes down. The Osnat has been destroyed by the MSV2 Diva in its active turn, so I've lost the Osnat as well, but the Zerat's prone, so we're okay. Next up, over here you can see the Locust trying to move out from his position from the long-range angle, but does take a Panzerfaust to the face from the Yaogat, luckily. Yaogat, of course, ignoring the ODD because of MSV2, so the Panzerfaust makes short work of him. That was only the actually, that was the first round, I think. I'd fired one bullet with it, so I had the second one left. Can't quite remember. I might have actually loosed one of them against the Walker and failed that too, but I do remember running out of ammo that game. So now, with 2 command tokens left, moves up with the Palbot and revives the HMG. Because the Palbot's like a silhouette one, it's quite low to the ground, and my guys are on ground level, I couldn't see him. So the HMG is revived, and then does a number on my Yaogat defensively. Yaogat not removed from the table though, just reduced to unconscious, so luckily that's okay. I'm going to be able to bring through the doctor potentially to revive him later, and he'd spent the last of his orders doing that. So Morat turn 2, the Predator now is impetuous because it's lost its link, scuttling around the side of the building, but not quite coming into line of sight of this Diva at the top right yet. Then, over here, we are reforming the link team. The HMG moves into action and guns down his HMG a second time. So, with a bit of reshuffling, this is very much possible. Then, the HMG moving around the other side of the building and just very carefully avoiding the Hexa. There was a building and a sign in the way, and if you just look at this image over here, we were very careful about it. Obviously this is not actual eye level on the model, but you can see the Morat HMG standing on a crate on another building in the distance there, and this black silhouette marker represents where the Hexa sniper is. And if I'd taken a better photo closer to ground level, you would have seen that this Triton Logistics sign actually blocks off even like the corner of it that would maybe he'd have had a chance to shoot otherwise, so not quite able to get me. So what that allows me to do, of course, is move the HMG onto the roof, make short work of not just the war core, but other members of a link team. Because I've gained a lot of height, I can shoot down onto that Red Lotus, Red Veil terrain on the other side of the table. So basically just clearing it up, making sure he doesn't have many orders left to try and get any missions done at the end, and allowing me to actually move on to his side of the table later. The Diva is still prone behind the car here, although having a go at shooting out at me in his turn, although he doesn't have many orders left to do that. So with his third turn effectively not achieving very much, I'm moving out now with the link team, including the hacker, firing at him with the combi rifle. Once she's been eliminated, the entire team steps out now, moves on to the difficult terrain. We end up throwing down a smoke grenade right in front of the objective, and then the HMG moves around to shoot at the Diva. But he reveals a Hexa killer hacker, fires at me with his combi rifle, and that does end up destroying the HMG. So then Tritac moves on to try and rescue this civilian, but she's being shot at by an Hexa sniper. I couldn't really get into position in time, didn't have enough orders, and ended up being only a win to me because the Morat Link team was within range of the HVT. So exactly the same outcome as the last game. I took second turn, neither of us could complete the missions, so I won on classifieds effectively. But after this game had been played out, I realized that I could have done this a lot better. I made some mistakes here. Here's what I should have done. What I should have done is just moved full bore with the link team, knowing that he had a Hexa, like killer hack or whatever, lingering around. That's okay. I should have moved full bore through the exclusion zone anyway, and thrown a smoke grenade next to the civilian, but very close to it, so like half an inch away gap. And then when I move the link team around to collect the civilian, yes, his Diva can shoot at me, but the sniper can't, and the other Hexa can't. So I'm really only taking rounds from the Diva, but I could have shot back at him without the smoke penalty because I've got 610 level 2. And that would allow me to clean up the Diva and then actually synchronize with the civilian inside of the smoke, which would have been a way more reliable way to do it. And to be honest, I did have enough orders to set that up, honestly, so that would have been a better way to have completed it. But hey, I was lucky there that he didn't complete his classified. Otherwise it would have been a draw. So that was fine. I think that there were a lot of arrows I had to get through, but it's quite a hard mission to complete. I think also the way we laid out the terrain also was conducive to that as well. I think in future, if we're going to play this mission again, I'm going to try and make the terrain such that one or two of the civilians are sort of easier for the other player to get for both sides. So it'll be a bit more of an oblique sort of terrain setup rather than a setup where the deployment zone is very heavily protected, but the rescue civilians aren't, and there's a couple of big blocks in the middle of the table. So that's what I'd set up for both games, whereas I think that the games would be a bit more exciting if I'd skewed that a little bit and like as a diagonal sort of oblique. Some of the civilians can be accessed quite easily unless you sort of move up to protect them actively. Anyway, Morat's a lot of fun. Cornat going well, Tridat going well, beaten Pano off again with the Morats. So I hope you guys enjoyed the clip, and if you haven't already, check out my videos about Morats as a faction and about my experience at the ITS tournament recently with them.